Sorry about that. I didn't hear anything.
Turn off your phone.
Not my phone or something else.
All right, welcome to On Target Radio. Tonight, our hosts David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz will be discussing such things as COVID conspiracy theories. We'll also be talking about grassroots help and other dissenting opinions. Our guest on the show tonight is Tom McCullagh, running for U.S. Senate.
You want to start over again?
Yeah. Tom, what are you running for exactly?
State Senate, District 49.
Yeah, let me
Mark
write that
Hearn
down.
would be a little upset with me.
U.S., whatever. State Senate, District 49.
Close enough, right?
All right, I got it written down now. See, we didn't have this
We
time.
talk 20 times a day, and figured he would have figured it out.
All right. We're ready again?
I'm always ready.
Welcome to On Target Radio. Tonight, our hosts David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz will be talking about COVID-19 conspiracy theories, what COVID-19 is, dissenting opinions, and government outreach. Our guest on the show tonight is Thomas McCullagh, running for State Senate in District 49.
Well, here we go. This is an experiment this evening. We are doing this from our homes because they won't let us in the radio station. I guess that's the epicenter of disease. I'm not sure. So we're spread out all over Will County, and we're going to put on a show no matter what. So starting off tonight, I want to talk a little bit about conspiracy theories, because that seems to be a really big thing. Every time you go into social media, you see the Chinese are doing it. Everybody's doing it. Everybody's doing something. The government's doing it. Tom, you're plugged into politics pretty strong. You and Gretchen both. What do you hear?
A lot of the stuff you see on online, it's it came out of a Chinese lab. It came out of a meat market. Given the characteristics and how the asymptomatic period can be, it's my belief, my personal belief, that it was probably an accidental release of a bioweapon out of a Chinese lab, because it has a 14 to 21 day incubation period, but it could be asymptomatic, that somebody probably got infected with it and was walking around because he never even had a sniffle and infected 100 people, and those people continue to spread it throughout the world. That's my personal belief. It could have came from a bat, but let's see. So
I find it
Gretchen,
interesting.
Story China wants us to believe is that it came from a bat.
The interesting thing is, Kuntz wrote, no, it wasn't Kuntz. Who was it? It was, my paper's missing. I don't know if you took it or what.
No, it was Dean Kuntz. Dean Kuntz.
Yeah,
it was Dean Kuntz. Wrote in 1981 that in 2020, now he wrote this in a book that published in 1981, that in 2020 we were going to have this virus. And this is what, he basically predicted it right on the money. Which, if there's any lead to conspiracy theory, that's certainly one, because when you start predicting something that far in advance, it certainly leaves room to wonder, don't you think?
Well, what I think it means is Wuhan, China, has been known for some time to be a place where they're cooking up really bad stuff. And so Dean Kuntz did some probably minimal research back in the 80s, and even he could figure it out. There was an American professor working in Wuhan who was arrested in December of last year. And he's been charged with lying to the government about working for China. And there were two other Chinese nationals who were also arrested for various other charges. It appears they're not working together, but plug in a couple more people and you've got a whole network. So I don't think that's too far-fetched.
So to tag on to what Gretchen, what you were saying is that the American scientist was arrested for giving technology to the Chinese people for learning how to do what's called a gain of function on the virus. So most viruses, when they evolve or they come out, when they go to their next iteration, it might develop into something that can transmit better. You might get a pneumonia out of it. Those are all gain of functions versus a loss of function. Like a flu, you typically loses functions every time it evolves out in society. But this virus has what's considered gain of functions, pneumonia, different ailments that happen in your body. It could be, heart disease, things that can cause heart attacks. So there's a lot of things out there that they got arrested for, in him teaching them how to make those viruses do better in society and be better killers. And that's really what the scary thing is.
Let me read to you what Kuntz said, and then I want to read a couple sentences from an abstract that was written in 2019. Kuntz said in 1981, and the book was The Eyes of Darkness, he said, in around 2020, a severe pneumonia-like illness will spread throughout the globe, attacking the lungs and the bronchial tubes and resisting all known treatments. Almost more baffling than the illness itself will be the fact that it will suddenly vanish as quickly as it arrived and attack again 10 years later and then disappear completely. And then he says, it was a Chinese scientist, Li Chen, and they call the stuff Wuhan 400 because it was developed at the rDNA labs outside of the city of Wuhan, and that it was the 400th viable strain of man-made microorganisms created at that thing. Then there's a scientific report that was written in 2019, and in that it says, in the abstract, we found 4 insertions in the spike glycoprotein, which are unique to the 2019 nCoV and are not present in other coronaviruses. Importantly, amino acid residues in all the 4 inserts have identity and similarity to those in HIV. That's, correct me if I'm wrong, but that sounds like weaponizing. It sounds like somebody has intentionally put things in there.
That's some scary stuff. Definitely.
So and they could help lead to some of the reinfection rates that we're seeing globally. You know, somebody could beat it, then they get reinfected with it. You know, that's exactly. Something that's a little bit terrifying.
I also don't really get the feeling that that the doctors here really know how it's transmitted. I mean, it just seems like, you know, at first they're saying social distancing, they're saying, you know, do all this, but I think they're just doing that. They're grasping at straws. I don't think they really know how it's transmitted at all. I think it's more closer to like Legionnaire's disease, where it took them a long time to figure out how it was being transmitted.
And I would have to agree with you. I've seen some things on it that has said, you know, you have to social distance yourself. You have to, it can, you know, droplets are 6 feet, now droplets are 50 feet. Now I'm reading that it can stay suspended in the air for hours. And I was just talking with a couple other people about that, because it's odd that so many people in such remote locations are getting infected by it, that it almost seems like it has to kind of linger in the air in order for this to be so, you know, spread so quickly.
Well, the CDC also released a study saying that it lives on surfaces for up to 17 days. So, I mean, somebody can go through that has the infection, they sneeze into their hand, they touch a, you know, they touch a doorknob, and then 50 other people touch that doorknob. It could be going on for almost 3 weeks, living on a surface.
What's really alarming are the people that are going out. You see these videos.
Oh, I think we lost Eric.
They test them and then they find out that they actually have it. I'm glad they're actually getting charged as terrorists.
Well, in the 4th segment, I want to actually talk about, well, actually 5th segment, I want to talk about government overreach, because this is a cluster, you know what. Every federal government has what you're supposed to do. Every state has what you're supposed to do. Every county has what you're supposed to do. Municipality is insane. And we need that. We'll talk about that in the 5th segment. But I think the whole concept of conspiracy theory is certainly fed by anti-Second Amendment sentiment. I mean, that's, I think, pretty clear. The pro-Second Amendment people take great note of all of the places that are using this as an excuse to close gun stores and ammunition sales and all of that. And that in and of itself is enough to fuel conspiracy theories, I would think.
So I have a couple of conspiracies that I haven't heard anyone else float. One is that they wanted everybody to stay home so that they would get better results on the census, since that's going on right now. The other one that I had.
No, go ahead.
The other one that I had is that Microsoft Teams is like a new thing, and you're seeing like television commercials for it. As far as I know, it just came out. I don't know when Zoom came out, but I never heard of it until this whole thing. So, you know, you look at, okay, who stands to make money? who's gaining by everybody staying home and having to work from home and having to do school from home and all of these things. You know, these are the companies that are making money from it.
One of my personal theories, Gretchen, is that, you know, the Chinese government was losing the trade war with the US. So they released the virus in order for them to recover from it first and be the global supply hub, which is kind of starting to show now. They're sending out masks and they're sending out all the necessary equipment that the world needs that they're producing. So maybe they did that to get a foot back up on us from the trade war that Trump was winning.
Yeah, I heard that one too. I also think this election year, I think they wanted to jack with the elections. Obviously, they don't want Trump to win. So I think by messing up the economy, you mess up the November election.
Well, one of the interesting things here is Tom noted publicly that our governor went into close down everything mode, stay in your house 1 minute after the primary election ended, 1 minute afterward. And I didn't even notice that, but that's a very interesting thing that they waited until 1 minute after the election closed. But we're gonna have to take a break. But I think that's probably worth talking a little bit about. When we come back, I do want to go over exactly what COVID-19 is, and we need to talk a little bit about that. So that's coming up when we return with more On Target Radio. And you're listening to AM 560, The Answer.
The Answer.
Cool. Segment 1 done.
Awesome.
I don't think we can say the answer together because there's a time lag.
No, don't do it.
Okay, I won't.
So now we're going to talk about, and Tom, this is probably going to be more you since you seem to know more about it, about what exactly is COVID-19.
Oh, I thought we were going to talk about his project first so that they would get a long segment to talk about that.
We can do that. Yep, I'll prop that up. I'll do that. That's how I'll open. And
Tom, you want to kind of lead in on that?
Yeah, I'll lead in since you took out everything else from it since. So I'll lead in and then leave off where you started doing the laser productions and kind of have you go in on that as well.
And then from there we'll talk a little bit about exactly what this is.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we're ready whenever you are, Eric.
Well, Tom's leading in, so whenever you can do.
I can open the segment. I open the segment.
Yep, we're good to go.
Intro to the segment. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll set you up, Tom.
All right.
Anytime, Eric?
Anytime.
Okay.
We're ready.
And we're back with more On Target Radio. We're talking this evening about the coronavirus, and the interesting thing is Tom McCullagh, who is running for the state senate, got an idea, and the idea has blossomed into something really big. Tom, tell us a little bit about what you and now Eric has been helping you do too.
So I was online using a lot of different maker forums because I'm always printing stuff on my 3D printer or working with my CNC machine, making different things because I get bored and it's fun to program and, you know, hang out with that stuff. I saw a 3D printed N95 shield that goes over the N95 mask. It helps stop the shields from getting dirty and it extends the life significantly for the healthcare workers. So if they get bodily fluids, whatever on that, they actually have to continue using that because the hospital is not going to provide new ones. So when I started printing those off, I contacted Maureen Broderick over at JJC, who put me in contact with Judy Mitchell, who's the president at JJC, and JJC jumped on it with both feet, and then they started getting their 3D Maker lab going. So everybody's printing 3D printed mask shields, and we started delivering those out to hospitals. And we got a lot of great response. I mean, the nurses were crying and hugging people as we're dropping these off, saying it's going to help save lives, and it's been a huge impact in our local community. Where things really went into high gears when Eric Allen got involved, who's sitting with us today. You know, he's on the show. He's got a laser cutter, and he took a 3D file and he put it into the program to make what's called a DXF file in order to cut it on his laser machine. I'll let Eric pick up where that's at. And we went from, you know, producing 70 to 100 a day to thousands. And it's been a huge help.
So we took the file and converted it over to a laser file, and the hardest part was finding material that kind of matched what they were using on the 3D printer. So the material on the 3D printer was PETG, and I thought, well, if I can find a thin enough plastic that's kind of flexible enough and has almost the same properties, we could cut these on the laser. So I was walking around the hardware store, and I finally came across these flexible cutting boards, which is polypropylene free. It's food safe. It's safe for contact with your skin. It's chemical safe. It's even dishwasher safe. So I tested one out on the laser, and it cut perfectly. So these 3D printed shields were taking about 40 to 50 minutes to print per shield, and now with the laser we're down to 24 seconds. So kind of give you guys an idea of what the shields look like here. They go over the N95 mask if the camera will pick it up. So it's just been amazing. We've sent out thousands of these to hospitals across the area. I mean, Christ, Olympia Fields, Mount Sinai, Oak Lawn, Oak Park, everywhere. Elmhurst Edwards picked up a bunch. These are being received by everyone, and the campaign is just going crazy across the internet. I've been sharing this on Laser webbing it themselves. So we actually started a GoFundMe for this to kind of help offset the cost of the materials. Right now, these shields cost us, they're costing us 12 cents per mask just in the materials. That doesn't include running machines, which I don't want to know what my electric bill is going to look like, but it does help out a lot. So my GoFundMe information on that is actually on my website. So it's WCCSIL, like Will County Computer Service. So WCCSIL.com/COVID. And there you can find information. If you're actually a hospital or you work with first responders, law enforcement, we've given these out to a lot of law enforcement agencies too. There's a place on there where you can request these on the website. There's a form you can fill out to request to either pick these up or have us send these to you. And there's no cost for first responders. We're not trying to profit off this. I've actually been approached by 2 people now that wanted us to produce these or to sell these. And the answer is absolutely not. We're taking all the money we get from the donations, putting it back into materials. My laser's been running almost all day, every day. I actually a volunteer out there helping me right now. So props to Josh Dinsmore, who's out there helping me run the laser. Greg Brenda was out there helping me run it as well. So everybody's just been very helpful, and I'm amazed at how quickly this is taking off. So.
And guys, Eric, I think it's a. Oh, go ahead.
Eric, can you put the link for the GoFundMe or for your website? Actually, probably both, on our Facebook page, so that if people want to request the masks or if they want to make a donation, they can find you.
Absolutely.
And I was saying, I think it's a testament to American ingenuity that, as an American saw the need for this to help extend the life of the N95 shield. They made a quick 3D mask online. They shared it on the internet that America invented. And then we helped bring that out across the country, and everybody started getting their little maker labs in their garages and their basements going. Now colleges and all the universities are starting to print these out. Then they take that iteration, and Eric makes it into a 3D file, into a laser file, and goes from making 10 a day, 15 a day to thousands per day. Now he's spreading that out across all of his laser communities, and that's going across the country. And now you've got these mini production facilities springing up literally nationwide now, from a small effort that started in a online forum, and now it's going to a nationwide movement that could potentially help save millions of lives. And that is not an understatement. It's a huge, huge fact that we can help stop the infection. We can help prolong the N95 masks and protect our healthcare workers so they can provide more healthcare to everybody who's in need.
That's really
it's
beautiful.
just amazing how quick we can get these different files to each other now with the internet and everything. So, there was the original file, and I made a couple modifications to it so it worked a little better with the laser, and it was a little bit more durable. And then today I just got a new version of the file, actually. So the one they were using, they were putting rubber bands on and putting them around their head. Now one of the 3D printer guys, innovated it again, came up with some little cutouts in it so that now the straps from the N95 masks will hold the shield on without any rubber bands. So now we're running the new version. I got the new version up and running in 15 minutes. It was amazing. So
the interesting thing about all this is this is a virus. And stores are selling out of antibacterial soap. Whoever makes antibacterial soap is getting rich, but it's a virus, and that does not kill viruses. And there's so much misunderstanding about this. It is really unbelievable what people are doing. And again, we want to talk about this in the fourth segment, but or the fifth segment. But there's all these different things. Shooting ranges are a good example. Some are closed, some are open, some are limiting it to individuals only. This varies from state to state. It varies from county to county. All the stuff that's going on, and there's just bad information. Buying bacterial soap to combat a virus is, you might just as well use plain water, no?
So, Dave, to catch on that, the internet is both a blessing and a curse. So I can put out some really good information inside of press releases. The government can put out great information on what to do, what's effective, and how to do that. But then there's somebody who heard it from their 15th cousin, decides to make a quick meme and share it all over the internet. Next thing you know, you're selling out of toilet paper and things that don't work. And you see people going out with trash bags over their head. And the internet's great for a lot of great things, but it's also wonderful for bad information. And it seems that bad information transmits faster than good information. And it's really sad that people aren't using official channels to really see what can be effective for it. There's a lot of great resources out there, on the government. There's, the COVID-19 website. The Department of State, the Illinois Department of Public Health has a great website for all the facts, and the CDC on what's effective against the virus, like, using hand sanitizer versus antibacterial soap. Can you use a mask? What's the safe social distance? Any updated guidelines that they're going to put out is available online. But again, people share memes so quick, and it doesn't mean that it's always accurate. So they say never trust what you read online is a 100% true statement. And I think Abraham.
I think the bad about being online, yes. He used social media extensively in his campaign, I recall.
Oh, absolutely.
But I was busy planting the redwoods, Gretchen, so I didn't really pay attention. I think bad news, or the bad stuff, tends to support what you want to hear, and that's why it tends to catch on more, because it gives you simple fixes, it tells you simple things. You know what I'm saying? It's just bad information tends to be supported because it makes it simple for people to understand. I think that's more of what happens than anything else.
Well, Tom's idea would be nice if we could trust the government, but I'm not 100% sure we can trust the government. And
I'm with you.
And I don't think we're getting the full story. And, and actually, when we talk about dissenting opinions, I will say, I think more people need to distrust the government, because there are some people who are going way over the top with it.
All right, we're going to have to take another break. When we return, let's talk a little bit more about COVID-19, what it is. We'll be back with that and more on Target Radio. And you're listening to AM 560, The Answer. So when we come back, Tom, can you sort of explain what it is actually?
Yeah, it's not going to be a long explanation, but I could definitely do that.
Yeah, it's only a 6.5 minute segment, so.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Yeah, and we'll just explain a little about what it is and why it's dangerous. Because a lot of people are going, it's not. Well, did you hear the New Orleans briefing? They're yesterday? They're hurt. They got a problem. And we just passed China, apparently, yesterday. In number of deaths. But
we don't trust China's numbers at all. They probably have hundreds of thousands of deaths.
There was one point that I was going to bring out, is that when they got to about 80,000 positive tests, they just stopped testing.
Yep. Well, that's if they even had it to begin with. There was people saying that those incinerators are going 24/7 for months, and how many people, they also probably use that as an excuse to pick up all their dissenters at the same time and shove them somewhere.
Or are they using German scientists?
I don't know.
He's up on the Germans.
What?
He's up on the Germans.
Well, what can I say? It's been done before. All right, so we're gonna, Tom, I'll set you up to just talk a little about what it is, eh?
All right.
Okay. Eric, are you good?
Ready when you are.
Okay. And we're back with more on Target Radio. We're talking about the coronavirus And our guests are Tom McCullagh, who is running for State Senate, 49th District, and of course, Eric Allen and Gretchen and I. We're not guests, we work here. But, well, actually, we don't work here. We normally work in a studio. We're at home now. But I would like at least a little information about what COVID-19 is. Tom, you've got some background in this.
A little bit. I have a friend who's a professor of microbiology at a good college in the area, and he's been kind of keeping me on task with this since, late December, early January. So a coronavirus, they've existed, they've known about coronaviruses for a while. SARS and MERS are both coronaviruses. So that's why in the back of the Lysol bottles, you'll see that it kills human coronavirus. So it's not, they didn't know about it for 30 years. I mean, they have known about different versions of the same coronavirus. Just this one's different. It's a novel strain of that same kind of virus. So they call it SARS-CoV-19. What makes this virus so dangerous is that it causes pneumonia, and it creates a cytosine storm inside of somebody's lungs. So a cytosine storm is your body's own immuno response to whatever the virus is, and it's pumping all those alveoli and different air sacs in the lungs full of antibodies, and that's what's making it so hard for our medical staff to treat that. And the viruses are not. They said at first it was like the seasonal flus are not, and R naught is how for every one person infected, how many people can you on average infect from that? The seasonal flu is 1.2 to 1.5. And the CDC and other governments are saying that this is closer to 4.5 to 6.5. So every one person that gets it, 4.5 to 6.5 people on average will be infected from the one person. Now, what's scarier about this is if you have underlying conditions like heart disease, other diabetes or obesity, things of that nature, this virus really attacks your compromised immune system, and it goes into that pneumonia phase really quick. So you can have 14 days asymptomatic, a couple days of having a cough or a fever, and then 7 to 10 days later, you're in full-blown pneumonia. And that's why it's extremely dangerous. The seasonal flu kills 0.2% of the people that catch it, which is an extremely low number. They say this is closer to 3 to 3.5%. Now we have new numbers showing 2%. But if you look at the closed cases versus open cases, the closed case fatality rate's hovering around like 4 to 5%, which is extremely high. It's about 50 times, between 20 to 50 times higher than the seasonal flu, which is what's making the U.S. government terrified, and also governments around the world, that we don't have enough ventilators to provide medical care. That's why flattening that curve is so important. If we have 1 million or 10 million people that need to have ventilation, we've only got 95,000 ventilators in the U.S. in its entirety. And that's more than any other country in the world. So that means out of 1 million people that need ventilation, 95,000 are going to be able to get ventilation. That's why they're trying to supplement with CPAP machines. If you have sleep apnea, it's the same type of machine that you're going to get. That's going to help try to force air inside the lungs. They're putting patients on their chest and inverting their legs a little bit to try to create more cavities for that air to get into and expose different parts of the lungs so more oxygen can get to it, and try to cut oxygen flow to the non-essential parts of the bodies to try to keep your chest and your head and other organs supplied with, oxygen. And that's why you're seeing in a big case of the patients that they're going into heart failure, liver failure, kidney failure, because they're not getting the amount of oxygen required in order to keep that person alive. And it's a terrifying prospect, and everybody does need to treat this very seriously. If there's 10 million cases in the U.S., you're looking at 200 to 250,000 people that need to be on ventilators, and that's why you're seeing the National Guard. That's why you're seeing the Defense Production Act making these ventilators, making the CPAP machines, trying to get oxygen out to people. It's make sure you wash your hands frequently and use hand sanitizer.
Well, and I know New Orleans, I was listening to the governor of Louisiana yesterday, and they're going to literally fill up the Superdome with beds. And what they're doing is it's sort of, once you get off the ventilator, they want to get you out of the hospital, but they can't just send you home yet. So the Superdome is going to become like a staging area between critical care, intensive care, and going home. So that's kind of an interesting philosophy. They're betting that thing up, and we're talking about this is what's going on in a lot of states. They're triaging, and based on the triage, they're sending people to specific places, and there's sort of like a chain of command that you go through to get out the other end. I mean,
well, they're doing that in the McCullagh Center in Chicago. They've turned that into a 3,000 bed facility.
So the people that have been saying this isn't true, I mean, it's time to kind of wake up and, smell the coffee. You got a whole lot of governments, both in the U.S. and around the world, that think it's really true because they got people who are dying from it. So that's become a real issue. And I think it's time that, people kind of get on board with this, whether you like it or not. And we're going to talk about dissenting opinions when we come back from break. And there are plenty of those. There's no question about that. But there are people dying. New York, they've had lots of people die already. So I don't know. I don't know how it is in Chicago at this point. I think so far we're doing okay, but apparently we're on the cusp now of when it's going to kick in. And we will see in the next week or so what happens. But we're going to come back. We're going to talk about dissenting opinions when we return with On Target Radio. And you're listening to AM 560, The Answer.
Good deal.
So
Hey,
that should
Tom,
be
we just
good.
got another order for 200 for Christ Hospital.
Outstanding. What doctor is it going to?
This is going to the postpartum unit.
Postpartum? Okay.
Yeah, OBGYN just got them yesterday.
Outstanding. Good.
Boy, that's another whole problem. If you're pregnant, geez.
Yeah, I've got a friend actually supposed to give birth any day now, and her name's Alexis. And I told her, like, you couldn't have picked a better time to have a kid.
Yeah,
And
really.
so she's
Wow.
really worried. She's got
can
Crohn's
get it.
disease, so she's compromised. And,
So it's worse
yeah,
already.
it's,
Yeah. All right, so now we're going to go into the fourth segment, and that's dissenting opinions. Gretchen, you want to bring it back because aren't you the one who wants to talk about dissenting opinions?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, why don't you bring it back?
All right, go ahead.
And we're back with more On Target Radio. We are talking about the COVID-19 pandemic, of course, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about dissenting opinions. I'm seeing a number of them. There was a very good article from PJ Media about how the media is hyping this, and it's really causing the hysteria, and how now America, the USA, has the most cases. We have over 100,000 cases confirmed now. But Victoria Taft of PJ Media said China's confirmed cases topped out at around 80,000 because they reportedly stopped conducting tests in order to show the world that they've contained the spread of the virus. So comparing any country to China at this point is useless. So there's that kind of misinformation that's coming out from other countries like China, who are just completely dishonest. We know they're dishonest. And, I have a friend who is posting dissenting opinions on Facebook, and, she's getting a lot of support, but then I shared one of her posts, and I had a college classmate, essentially screaming at me on Facebook, saying, this is not fake. I know people who've died. I'm not saying that no one's getting it, that no one's dying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the government response is a little hysterical and the media is a little hysterical. That's all I'm trying to say. I have found, just in general, the people that I know in the anti-vaccine community are sort of categorically like not buying it, like thinking that it's not really as intense as what the media is portraying it to be. My sister is completely over it, and she's very much into the anti-vaxxing. And I had, I saw a woman, there was a Plainfield page, and someone posted the park district saying that all the playgrounds are closed and the indoor facilities are going to be closed, and of course all the programs are canceled. And this woman posted, anyone who violates this should be thrown in jail. So I think that I think a lot of the response is just a little too hysterical.
Well, I agree with you, and I think that the CNN and all the other mainstream media did not do any service to the United States or the rest of the world by blowing this way up. And I think they wanted to do that to try to get a shot at Trump. And I firmly believe that they're doing an orange man bad thing with this. And
no question.
I mean, there's no every day they're trying to bash him for not having the right amount of supplies, not doing this. And the federal government is there to regulate trade between the states. That's really what the government is there to do. And the government is there to kind of give support behind the governors and give them what they need when the governors fall short. So when this crisis first happened, the president was like, hey, states, you need to order your masks, your respirators. You need to order the things that your state needs. And the government is there as a stopgap when they can't find the masks. Hey, we'll release it from our national stockpile to help you, to help, support the local infrastructure that's being, crushed or overrun. We just got out of a really bad flu season. So yeah, we're going to be short on N95, face shields, and gowns. And that's when the government can step in and help. But the local governments are supposed to be doing the majority of this work. And I think the people need to really get back and get a lesson in government on what the state's responsibilities are, what the federal government's responsibilities are, and really get a good civic lesson, go back to high school and take a few minutes to revamp on what the responsibilities are. But CNN and mainstream media, they wanted to blow this completely up. They wanted to see a national lockdown. They wanted to see the economy fail. And they're all doing this right now to try to get at the president, because they know they got sleepy Joe Biden out there as their candidate who can't even formulate a sentence, let alone have a coherent thought process coming out of his mouth any day or time of the week. And they're terrified. So they got to beat Trump any way they can. And this is one method that they can use to do that.
So Pelosi has come out and she said specifically, Pelosi's come out and said specifically, more people have died because of the way Trump has handled this thing. And, she's now calling, we should have a congressional investigation into what he knew and when he knew and all that. They have become so unbelievably partisan. If you looked at that, the bill that they wanted to pass to help the supposedly American people over this thing, there was almost nothing in there for the American people. There was stuff in there about, I don't even remember anymore. They were bailing out companies. They were doing all kinds of stuff. But there was very little in there for the Kennedy Center. Right. The Kennedy Center was in a huge grant. I mean, the partisanship.
Changing election laws, all sorts of ridiculous things.
Dave, if you look at the side-by-side comparison of the United States to almost every other country in the world, if you're looking at Italy, Spain, UK, China, even our side-by-side comparison, mortality rate versus infection rate, it's a number one indicator why you should love our healthcare system that we have, and how a capitalist society really allows patients to get the best number one care. If you go to Spain and Italy, their mortality versus infection rate is through the roof. They're at 15%. It's insane. But if you go to America, where we don't have a socialized healthcare system, we're doing wonderful so far.
Well, yeah, and it's not coincidental that for the most part, when foreign potentates.
Let Eric talk.
Now we got dead air. Okay, it's not coincidental that when foreign potentates need medical care, more often than not, they come here to the U.S. And so you're right, Tom. We deal with things better than most countries.
Well, when you have a socialist economy, there's no drive for us to succeed. There's no drive for innovation. And that's where the United States of America has always played the leading role since we came on board, of showing the world what you can do if we put innovation first.
You got it. We got to take another break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about dissenting opinions. That's a big subject right now. So we'll be back with more On Target Radio. And you're listening to AM 560, The Answer.
Eric, you're really going to have to go on like your Wi-Fi or something, bud. You're cutting out. Every time you start talking, you're cutting out real bad.
All right. I don't know if it's better.
Oh, there he goes again.
Now or not.
Yeah, because I don't know. I get dead air, so I start talking, and then I hear you in the background. I don't quite know why that is, but.
That's all right. I mark all the edits. I got to clean it up, so.
I didn't hear you. What?
I'll edit it, so don't worry about it.
Okay. All right. So we're going to go into dissenting opinions.
No, we already did.
No, we did that.
Maybe we should let Eric start so that he can say what he was saying about devil's advocate, and then we can go into government overreach, because I'm sure, I mean, it's basically related.
Yeah. I'm on my hot spot now, so it should be a lot better.
I lost track. Are we in 4 or 5?
5.
This is 5.
We are. Oh, well, great. It's a good thing I'm running the show. All right. So,
It's a good thing you're not running the show.
all right, Eric, you want to bring it back then?
Yeah, I got to think about what I'm going to say real quick. So,
okay, no problem.
Okay.
And then when we're done, we'll talk
Get
about
all my
government
coughs
overreach.
is everyone ready?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, and then don't forget you're going to close too.
Yeah. Well, we're in. We're in the last segment. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Whenever you're ready.
And we're back with more On Target Radio. We're talking about the COVID-19 crisis, and I've been trying to say things, but my internet's been kind of crappy. So I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit and say, the media has been, marked as being hysterical in this, but, the only thing is maybe they know something we don't, or, maybe somebody knows something we don't, because from the start of this whole crisis until now, I mean, we've seen some pretty extreme measures taken, and everybody probably remembers seeing the videos from China with them actually out there fogging the streets with God knows what, maybe the virus itself, I don't know, but it's been kind of interesting.
Orange.
And for them to take that measure right away, right when it happened, assuming that is actually when it happened, I mean, it seemed a little bit extreme. So maybe like people are saying, maybe it is a bioweapon. Maybe they knew this. Maybe they were trying to put a stop to it. I don't know, but that's my devil's advocate portion.
For them to lock down 700 million people, they did not have 3,000 deaths. They didn't have 80,000 infections. They had to have known that it was an escape bioweapon. They had to have known that it's going to kill hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. There's reports coming out now, and there was videos that were coming out during that whole thing. That's why they shut down the internet in China, of 10,000 people inside of a warehouse, that are sitting there twitching because they can't breathe and they didn't have enough oxygen or ventilators to take care of the people. So there's a lot of misinformation out there, and if we ever think that China's telling us the truth, we know that's never going to happen.
Hey Tom, I got a new idea for you. Those mosquito foggers, Lysol. Let's do it. Patent pending.
Right. We have no warranty on any of the health effects.
I'm not so sure that China's the only government that is sneaky here, though. Look at the way this whole thing is being handled. You've got the federal government saying you should be doing this. Then you have state governments saying, well, we're going to do this. And then it's going down to counties and municipalities even. There's no Rosetta Stone to any of this stuff. They say, good example, you can't have meetings over, you can't have a group of more than 10 people. Well, first of all, I don't even know why that's even a number. That seems arbitrary, but just for the sake of argument. Well, now in some states, they're saying you can't collect more than 10 people, but it's okay to go to church. Well, that doesn't make sense. I mean,
and then they're arresting pastors for holding church, and then you've got city councils trying to ban the sale of guns and the possession of firearms in Champaign, Illinois. That place deserves to get everyone kicked out of there.
And New Jersey actually went around and took the button off of the federal form, so it was impossible to do it. Now they've reversed their opinion. I suspect that's because of Trump. You have some shooting ranges are open because their understanding is it's a private membership club and you can do it. You have other shooting ranges say, oh, we can't be open according to what Pritzker says. I mean, this is insane. There are people running around like chickens with their heads cut off.
We need to see a federal law or even a state law in Illinois. I would love to sponsor this if I win the election, that we can have concealed carry without a permit, just like Florida does in the case of a localized disaster or a disaster, like a disaster zone is declared, like if a tornado happens, an earthquake happens, where we can carry conceal without a permit during those times when our lives are at the greatest risk, because the police are overloaded and local governments are definitely overloaded, and we would need as much help as we can. And the firearms response time's a couple seconds versus maybe a few hours in situations like that from the police. I would love to see a bill like that passed in Illinois.
I have to say one thing, in all fairness, and people know that I'm no fan of J.B. Pritzker, but you could have knocked me over with a feather when I read what he said, and he specifically exempted gun stores and ammunition sales, saying they are in fact essential. I have no idea what prompted it, and that's kind of all the time we have for the show. We got to go, but that just blew me away.
Anyway,
My fear, I just want to say my fear is that it's going to turn into like Nazi Germany and the police are going to be stopping us and go, show me your papers, because you're not doing business that you should be doing.
All right, we got to go. We'll see you
Anyway,
next
we'd
week.
like to thank you for listening to On Target Radio. Be sure to listen next week when we'll be covering more red meat issues that affect your life.
There
Get
you
it.
go.
You really have to get it in because he's going to edit.
Yeah,
Got to
we'll
read
get
the
it.
clock. Okay.
It's all good.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, my thought is like any other time you like 10, 15 seconds at the end of a segment, and this one just plowed into the end.